Have you ever noticed how some people can say anything to you and you just explode inside? Have you ever felt like your emotions were controlled by everyone else's words, like a puppet on strings that you didn't even know existed? Have you ever wondered why the smallest comment from someone could ruin your entire day while they walked away like nothing even happened? If you've ever felt this way, then this story is for you. Because what I'm about to share changed everything for me, and it might just change everything for you too. His name was Eli, 26 years old, working a regular job in a city that never sleeps, surrounded by people, but feeling completely alone. Eli wasn't weak, he wasn't soft, but he had one problem that was eating him alive from the inside. He reacted to everything. Every comment, every joke, every sideways glance, every tone of voice. It didn't matter if it came from his boss, his friends, his family, or even strangers online. Something inside him would ignite. His heart would race. His thoughts would spiral. And for hours, sometimes days, he would replay the moment over and over in his head. Why did they say that? What did they mean? Did they think I was weak? One morning, Eli woke up and his phone was already buzzing. A group chat with his coworkers. Someone had made a joke about him missing a deadline the day before. It was small, harmless even, but Eli felt it like a punch to the chest. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to defend himself, ready to explain, ready to fight back. But instead, he just stared at the screen. His coffee went cold, his chest felt tight, and he realized something. He was exhausted, not physically, emotionally. He was tired of fighting battles that didn't even exist, tired of defending himself to people who didn't even care, tired of letting other people's words decide how he felt about himself. That same week, his younger brother called him. They'd had an argument a few days earlier, something stupid about family plans, and his brother wanted to continue it. The moment Eli heard his brother's tone, he felt that familiar fire rising in his chest. But this time, he stopped. He didn't yell. He didn't explain. He didn't defend. He just said, "I hear you," and then he stayed quiet. His brother kept talking, trying to pull him into the fight, but Eli didn't bite. And after a few minutes, his brother just stopped. The call ended. And for the first time in years, Eli didn't feel drained afterward. He felt calm. That's when he started to notice something. Most of the fights he'd been in weren't really fights at all. They were reactions. Someone would say something and he would react. They would poke and he would explode. And every single time he lost energy, lost peace, lost control. He started testing it. At work, when his boss made a sarcastic comment about his report, Eli just nodded and said, "I'll revise it." No explanation, no defense, no reaction. His boss looked surprised but said nothing else. At the gym, when a guy made a rude comment about the weights Eli was using, he just smiled and moved on. No argument, no confrontation, no reaction. At home, when his mom criticized the way he dressed, he just said, "Okay, Mom," and changed the subject. No frustration, no resentment, no reaction. And something strange started happening. People stopped poking. They stopped testing him. It was like they realized there was nothing to grab onto anymore. Eli had become water. You can't fight water. You can't provoke it. You can't control it. One evening, Eli sat alone in a park watching the sunset, and an old man sat down next to him. They didn't speak for a while. Then the old man said, "You look different than most people your age." Eli turned to him, curious. The old man smiled. "Most young people today are like dry wood," he said. "One spark and they burn. But you seem like stone, calm, unmoved." Eli laughed softly. "I wasn't always like this." The old man nodded. "I can tell." Eli hesitated, then asked, "How do you stop letting people get to you?" The old man looked at him for a long moment. "You don't stop them from trying," he said. "You stop giving them the power." He continued, "Think of your peace like a kingdom. Every time you react, you open the gates, you let them in, you let them take your throne. But when you stop reacting, you keep the gates closed. They can shout outside all they want, but inside your kingdom, there is silence. Eli felt those words sink deep into his chest. The old man stood up slowly, tapped Eli on the shoulder, and walked away. From that moment on, Eli made a decision. He would protect his peace like it was the most valuable thing he owned, because it was. No more reacting to bait. No more defending himself to people who didn't matter. No more letting someone else's mood determine his own. It wasn't easy. There were moments when someone would say something and every part of him wanted to snap back. His pride would scream, his ego would beg. But he would breathe, he would pause, and he would choose silence. Weeks passed, then months.
That silence wasn't weakness. It was the strongest thing he'd ever done, because responding would have meant giving her access to his peace again. And he wasn't willing to pay that price anymore. Silence. Eli started to notice patterns everywhere. At coffee shops, he'd see people arguing over nothing. On social media, he'd watch strangers destroy each other over opinions that wouldn't matter tomorrow. At family gatherings, he'd hear the same old fights repeating like broken records. And he realized something profound. Most people were suffering not because life was hard, but because they kept reacting to things that didn't deserve their energy. They were bleeding out over paper cuts. Pause. One day, a younger guy from work approached him during lunch. He looked frustrated, drained. He sat down across from Eli and said, "How do you do it?" Eli looked up. "Do what?" "Stay so calm," the guy said. "People say stuff to you all the time and you just let it go like it's nothing." "I can't do that. Everything gets to me." Eli put down his fork and thought for a moment. Then he said, "Let me ask you something. When someone insults you who suffers more..." The guy frowned. "What do you mean?" Eli leaned forward. "If someone says something rude to you and you spend the next 3 hours angry replaying it in your head, losing sleep over it, who's really being hurt? Them or you?" Pause. The guy went quiet. Eli continued. "They said one sentence and moved on with their day. But you carried it. You fed it. You let it grow inside you until it became bigger than the moment ever was. That's not their power over why. That's your reaction, giving them power." The younger guy stared at his plate. Eli said softly, "I used to be just like you. I used to think that reacting meant I was strong, that staying quiet meant I was weak. But I had it backwards. Music. Reacting is easy. Anyone can do that. But controlling yourself, choosing peace over pride, choosing silence over proving a point, that takes real strength." The guy nodded slowly. Eli smiled. "Start small. Next time someone tries to provoke you, just breathe. Don't fight back. Don't explain yourself. Just let it pass. Watch what happens. Pause." The guy left that conversation different. And Eli realized something else. His pain had become his power. Everything he'd gone through, every moment he wanted to explode and didn't, every time he chose silence over chaos, it had all built something inside him, something unshakable. Weeks later, Eli ran into an old friend, someone he hadn't seen in years. They grabbed coffee and caught up. At one point his friend said, "Man, you seem different. Like really different. What happened?" Eli smiled. "I stopped fighting battles that didn't matter," he said. "I stopped letting people rent space in my head. I stopped reacting." His friend laughed. "That's it. That's the secret." Eli shook his head. "It's not a secret. It's a choice. And it's one you have to make every single day. Silence. Because the world will test you. People will try to pull you back into the chaos. They'll say things to get a reaction. They'll push your buttons because that's what they know. But you don't have to dance to their music anymore." Pause. His friend sat back, looking thoughtful. "So you just ignore everything now?" Eli shook his head. "No. I respond when it matters. But I don't react when it doesn't. There's a difference. Reacting is emotional. Responding is intentional. One drains you. The other protects you. Music. That night, Eli wrote something in his journal. A note to himself. A reminder for the hard days. It said, "You are not responsible for how people treat you. But you are responsible for how you respond. Your peace is your power. Guard it. Protect it. Don't give it away to people who don't deserve it." Pause. And from that moment on, Eli lived differently. He stopped checking his phone obsessively, waiting for replies from people who didn't care. He stopped overthinking every conversation, every glance, every tone. He stopped letting other people's opinions shape how he saw himself. He became his own fortress, unshaken, unbothered, unmoved by the noise. Silence. Months turned into a year, and Eli's life looked completely different. Not because everything was perfect, but because he was no longer at war with himself. He had friends who respected him, a job where he felt valued, a family that had learned they couldn't push him around anymore, and, most importantly, he had peace, real peace, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstances, the kind that comes from within. Pause. One evening, Eli went back to that same park where he'd met the old man. He sat on the same bench, watched the same sunset, and he whispered, "Thank you." Not to anyone in particular, just to the universe, to life, to himself, for having the courage to change. Music. Because the truth is this: the day you stop reacting is the day you start living. It's the day you take your power back. It's the day you realize that your emotions are yours and no one else gets to control them unless you let them. Pause. So let me ask you something. How much of your peace have you given away to people who didn't deserve it? How many nights have you lost sleep over words that didn't even matter? How many times have you let someone else's bad day become yours? Silence. Today can be your day. The day you stop reacting, the day you choose yourself, the day you protect your peace like it's the most sacred thing you own. Because it is. You don't owe anyone an argument. You don't owe anyone a reaction. You don't owe anyone access to your inner world. Pause. Stay calm, stay silent, stay powerful, and watch how everything changes. Not around you, but inside you. Music. Remember this: the strongest people aren't the ones who fight back every time. They're the ones who know when to walk away, when to stay silent, when to protect their peace. Be that person. Be like water, calm on the surface, powerful beneath, unmoved by the storm. Pause. The day you stop reacting is the day everything changes. And that day can be today. Silence.